2, 1.
Hey everybody, this is John at Ubaldi Reports, the one podcast that provides fact, not fiction, on issues impacting America. With me is my Ubaldi Reports groups, a bunch of combat Marines and Marine veterans who are just talking about issues that we're all facing. And a couple of the big issues today is one that's kind of carryover from the weekend is Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin went into the hospital right before Christmas for prostate cancer, and since that time he was saying it was just elective surgery, but then we find out he went back via ambulance to intensive care on January 1st, and for 4 days the administration didn't know where he was at or didn't even know he was in the hospital. And you got to remember, on the 4th of January, the U.S. military launched military operations against Iranian proxy forces in the Middle East. So it begs the question, who's running the show? If the Secretary of Defense goes into hospital, that's fine. We hope him, and even on this program, I wish the best for him. I hope he recovers fully. But still, you're the Secretary of Defense. You're a 4-star Army general. Everybody down to a private knows if you go to sick bay or sick call, you have to let your command know you're gone. And to be missing for 4 days, that's inconceivable to me and incontrovertible that this is the person leading our Defense Department.
Is that a threat to our national security?
Well, it's a major threat because it shows when we're conducting combat operations throughout the Middle East, and he's handling the wars in Ukraine versus Russia, and then the proxy wars going on through the Middle East and Israel-Hamas, and it shows that the president is not in contact on a daily basis with the Secretary of Defense. Now, when they launched combat operations in the Middle East on the 4th of January, CENTCOM, which is U.S. Central Command based out of Tampa, they have to let someone know what was the resolution. Did we meet our metrics? What was the damage afterward? Did we hit all our objectives? So did CENTCOM contact the Secretary of Defense?
McKenzie's still in charge over there?
No, it's an Army general.
So going back kind of to your question, we'll go back to your question, but what's it any of our business about what medical procedure he went through? I mean, there's still kind of like some kind of HIPAA there that we're able to get procedures done, and we don't need to announce to the nation that I'm getting prostate cancer surgery.
Okay, there is HIPAA laws, and he's like any other private citizen, but he's not. Mm-hmm. He's the Secretary of Defense. If he's going under for prostate cancer, say it, because and then when he went under for his operation, then when he was missing for the 4 days, he said he turned over administrative control or command control to his deputy. Well, his deputy was in Puerto Rico. She didn't even know he was going for a medical procedure. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he's under HIPAA law, but then you're not. When you go into the public service, your life kind of is not your own anymore.
Well, I mean, also, but there's also a lack of communication.
There's a major lack of communication.
Within the administration. I mean, he or his wife or somebody close to him couldn't find. I mean, he's a Secretary of Defense. If you use the cell phone, I'm pretty sure there's a couple numbers in there they can call and be like, hey, something's going on, and everybody should know. Or did they know, and they're just not releasing it? Because if you were, say, 3 other countries that were in the midst of a proxy war, an actual war, and pending, wouldn't that seem to show weakness that the Secretary of Defense is not at the helm? But
here's the other thing: we have the National Security Council, which the Secretary of Defense is one of the lead players. Mm-hmm. Jake Sullivan, who is the National Security Advisor, is on that. So the question is, for 4 days, the administration didn't know where he was at or didn't know that he was in the hospital. So that's telling me that's okay. Just going by that, what we know. That's telling me for 4 days, while military operations are being commenced in the Middle East, the president is not talking to a Secretary of Defense. You had Jake Sullivan, didn't talk to the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
The Secretary of State didn't talk to the Secretary of Defense. To me, this is a major breach of a national security, because what happens if, let's say for the sake of argument, China invaded Taiwan? Wouldn't the president need to know what's going on? What are our options?
Well, okay, one of two things then. I think you said the Secretary of State and
National Security Advisor.
National Security Advisor, and they're not getting blown up on their phone or through their assistants that the Secretary of Defense is not trying to reach them, or if they're trying to reach the Secretary of Defense because if there's something going on, there needs to be a constant contact. No flags went up saying somebody's odd,
missing?
Or is it the other situation where the three just can't stand each other, and when they don't hear from each other, it's a good thing?
That would be the worst thing, because they all have to coordinate with each other. National Security Advisor, he gets all the information, make sure the president has all options presented to him. That was the Brent Scowcroft model. And I don't know how Jake Sullivan does things, but Brent Scowcroft, who was the National Security Advisor for George H.W. Bush, he didn't get in the realm of the Secretary of State. He didn't step on the toes of the Secretary of Defense. He made sure everybody was able to present their case to the president so the president can make an informed decision. And that was one of the smoothest foreign policy teams we've had in a number of years.
I mean, we did bring up some good questions.
What was the question?
Well, ask Donald Trump how many days he golfed.
Golfing is different.
Probably not as many as Biden has taken off from the White House.
Okay,
I'll tell him that. I know that for a fact.
Golfing is different. We're talking about 4 days the president did not know his Secretary of Defense was in the hospital, incapacitated, and he went under anesthesia. Now, the Pentagon said this was elective surgery. You don't go in elective surgery in an ambulance to the ICU because there's some complications from that, and you didn't go under anesthesia. Even if a president goes under anesthesia, that's fine. He temporarily gives the authority to the vice president.
Wouldn't his security detail have any? He has a security detail.
He does, but also the press spokesman, a major general from the an Air Force major general, knew about it as well, but he didn't say anything.
Then there should be.
He should be fired.
Yeah, there should
right
be a lot
now.
of people coming down the pipe.
This was the administration of transparency. Remember?
Very transparent.
But remember, okay, but as
about as transparent as our windows at the range.
but as an example, the Marine Corps Commandant, he just had open heart surgery, I think Monday.
Yeah.
But he had a heart attack, and ever since then, he transitioned the authority to run in the Marine Corps to his number 2.
Well, even we knew Biden went out for like a day because he had a colonoscopy, and Kamala took over. I mean, we were well aware of that. So,
but here's another point. Peter Ducey from Fox News made a very good point. If they're not being transparent with this, and they don't know where the Secretary of Defense is, how do we trust? They're telling us that Joe Biden's health. Remember, Joe Biden is 81 years old. Do we have full confidence that we're telling the straight scoop? All we're told is he's in better shape. Like Corinne Jean-Pierre said, it's hard for us to keep up with his energy. Really? He's 81 and you can't keep up with an 81-year-old? So how do we know they're being transparent?
I'll tell you one thing though. Hold on. In maybe not in so much defense, but you are significantly older than me. Okay.
No, let's don't go significantly.
Okay, you're a little bit older than me.
I'm 59. What are you?
46.
Okay, there's like.
Is it more than 10 years? Yes, it's significantly.
Okay.
Anyway, but I mean, you run, you swim, you do all that. There's no freaking way I'm able to keep up with you, and I think I'm in decent shape. So I mean, he could be in good shape. He just his cognitive awareness might not be there, but the dude might be like a freaking.
Here's
horse.
an example. My dad was a little older than Joe Biden. Okay, before he passed at 92. There were times my dad had a serious skull fracture because he was an iron worker. This wasn't when they didn't have great OSHA laws back then.
Yeah.
But there were times that he forgot things. And it's not like he has Alzheimer's or dementia. He was just getting older. And as he got older, he slowed down a lot. And we had to, take care of him, watch him, make sure I had to drive him everywhere, make sure to go to the appointments, help him out with his medical procedure, like speak to the doctor so the doctor knew what he was going through.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, and there's people who can be in their 90s and they're mentally sharp. The problem is, this is the President of the United States. When you go on vacation or even a break, the office goes with you. So the question is, do we know? Because President Biden has never taken a cognitive test. Donald Trump did. And Ronnie Jackson, who was the doctor for George W. Bush and Barack Obama and Donald Trump, he took a detailed cognitive test and he passed with flying colors. Joe Biden hasn't done that.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going into a presidential election. He will be 82 weeks after the election this November.
Yeah.
How do we know what his health condition is? And remember, the Pentagon and the government didn't tell us about the Chinese spy balloon until they got caught over when someone else said something's up in Montana.
When they had to actually shoot it down.
Yeah. So then we've got this. So we're never told certain things until after the fact. Mm-hmm. So how do we know that they're telling the truth on that? But as people look at this now, flip the switch. What happens if Donald Trump, Secretary of Defense, was out of pocket and Donald Trump didn't know for 4 days? How do you think the press would have reacted?
They would have skewed him.
They would have skewered him. But this goes into that this was supposed to be, as Ray said, the grown-ups are in the room. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be the president had all this foreign policy experience.
Yeah.
So let's look where we're right now. We're in a proxy war with Russia over Ukraine. We got a potential regional war in the Middle East. Right now, the British and U.S. naval forces shot down dozens of drones, and then F-18 took down some drones itself.
Yeah.
So we've got all that. Then you got a potential conflict with China over Taiwan. We got all these issues. Then you've got, which probably our next segment, we got 8 million plus people streaming across the U.S. southern border. In December, you had 302,000 people in 1 month come across that border. And now they're being parceled across the country. And how do we know who these people are?
Not to mention they just kicked out, 2,000 kids?
Yeah.
2,000 kids out of their school, put them on virtual learning to have immigrant, to have our, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, to have the immigrants come over and take up that space for where they're living. And on top of that, you said it was from a lower income.
It's lower incomes because
like
it's not
a higher income could be understandable. Higher income means like there's a little bit more of a support structure there. No, they went to the bottom
because the higher income
doesn't want it.
No, the higher income has a voice and a say, and they're going to come unglued.
Well, yeah, because they know if they went after the higher income and they kicked their kids out, there would not be another Democratic mayor in there for a while.
But what they did is they take these kids.
Okay, hold on, wait. Let me just before. Okay, so if the upper class people spoke up and it would eliminate, but why aren't the lower class, who were probably Democratic, why aren't they kind of raising their voice?
Well, it's the same thing as Vivek Ramaswamy. He calls everybody's is tainted because they've got all this campaign contributions. You're part of the system. Mm-hmm. But I would ask Vivek Ramaswamy is, have you contacted your elected officials? I guarantee he has. If you're a billionaire and you called your U.S. senator, do you really think he's not going to take your call? Mm-hmm. I'm a small business owner. You're a small business. If you called your local congressional rep and says, I'm Joe Bidz from All American Gunslingers, is he going to call you up? No.
Oh, I beg to differ on that one. I think that might be a little bit of a different situation than say. Okay, I would say our situation would be a little bit different, say from like a pawn shop or a barber shop or something like that. I got it,
but do you really believe that you haven't given anything, one penny to your congressional
leader? Not yet.
But I beg to differ. But so lower income people don't have the voice. It's day. Money talks.
I think so. From a business point, if we just want to branch off to like a business point of view for a second, I think our business is going to be a little bit different because we are going to be contributing a lot more to that area. than they think, whether it's
I
whether
got
it's
it.
taxes and stuff
But
like
right
that.
now, if you don't contribute to someone's campaign,
Oh yeah, this year no. Next year,
well, if
yes.
you don't contribute to someone's campaign, it makes a difference. And here's the thing that should
Hold
be
on,
a
I
big.
might be contributing to your campaign.
There you
now.
go. Here's what's something that should be a bigger issue. These are low-income individuals.
Yeah.
Right now in New York City, 80% of black and Hispanic children, this is from the New York City Unified School District there, public schools, 80% of black and Hispanic kids cannot read or do math to grade level. So who's going to be impacted more by a loss of learning? So now their parents who have to work have to figure out childcare and also have to teach their kids like they did during COVID, how to learn by Zoom.
Well, now that if we're kind of digging into it, I'll tell you what. They could see or look at the low-income family, and basically they can kind of take this year or whatever it is that they're doing, taking these kids, taking them virtual learning, and then when the time comes, oh, these kids aren't going to graduate, or these kids are not making the numbers. Well, guess what? Send them through anyway, because that's what they do in all the big cities and all the blue cities. If a kid is not meeting its criteria when it comes to school, they say, okay, screw it, you can go forward anyway. So, and that's what they'll do. And so,
but that's what they're doing. So kids are graduating who are not reading or doing math to grade level. So if you graduate and you got a high school diploma, it's basically a worthless piece of paper.
Isn't
if you
the
can't,
public school system a joke anyway?
It is, because look at the ones who push it. Like there was a big debate at the end of November 29th, between Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis. Gavin Newsom's all big on public schools for somebody else's kids. His kids go to private school. Even when he shut the schools down for a state during COVID, his kids were in-person learning at a private school. Barack Obama's kids went to private school. Joe Biden's kids went to private school. Look at Hunter Biden. Here's a guy that graduated from a private high school, went to Yale and Yale Law School. He epitomizes white privilege. Look at the disaster his life is. And it seems like they has two different standards. They want you to be poor and uneducated, and they say they care about people of color, but they do more harm to people of color. And they get, because they just want them poor and uneducated.
From what I heard, it said a healthy, educated, and confident nation is harder to govern.
It is harder because you know things.
Yeah.
And it's like my brother's
kids. So they want to
kids.
keep us dumb, sick.
Well, they want you uneducated because you won't know. They want you poor because then you're going to be always needing the government. Why would you vote for a party who wants to cut government spending? And that's where we're at. And there was one thing I saw in this feed. I don't know who said it. It goes, Trump for prison 2024. Based off what? Tell me what Donald Trump did. I don't like his rhetoric. I think he's a narcissistic ass.
He tweeted about the election being rigged, John.
Okay, but here's the...
That's why he should go to jail.
So that's what she's going... You're being charged him for complaining or questioning the 2020 election. Every Democrat questioned the 2016 election.
Was that DC stuff? The charges for Trump and with the insurrection stuff? That been dropped, right?
It hasn't been dropped. They never charged him for insurrection.
Okay.
He's never been charged, indicted, or anything. This was all challenging the elections of 2020.
Yeah.
So how does he... Okay, so he hasn't been charged. Now, this has also recently come up to the point where the Supreme Court it might get involved.
No, they are getting involved.
They are getting involved. If you are cited and charged for insurrection, would that mean the 14th Amendment would be used correctly? But what if you're not charged with insurrection? Can the 14th Amendment be used?
But even if you're charged with the 14th Amendment, and that's in section...
Confederate move.
Okay, that's in section 3. But you've never been convicted. That's the key we got to go to.
Yeah.
You can be charged. Many people are charged, but they're never convicted. They used it in against was a Confederate vice president to Jefferson Davis. Once the Civil War was over, he decided, among others, to come back to, I think he was in the Senate, to come back to a Senate seat from the state wherever he was from. Well, the people are like, wait a minute, you took open rebellion. Even Jack Smith, who was charging Trump with everything, never charged Trump under insurrection.
Yeah.
Nobody's been charged under insurrection, even the Capitol rioters.
Well, it would probably be the same as no one's been charged with treason. Even
No,
though,
it's a
even,
very-
even though have been some treasonous things.
There
that
should be a
happened.
general that's getting charged for treason. General Milley.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the point. The reason nobody's been charged for treason, that goes back to John Marshall,
Yeah.
who was the third Chief Justice. He was the father of the modern Supreme Court. When they wanted to charge Aaron Burr for treason against the United States, he made the bar so high because he knew, not just for that court case, he knew men is men. Men will charge their enemies for everything. He wanted to make it so hard that you just can't charge your political opponents for this.
Mm-hmm.
But going back,
which you're trying to.
but going back to what's going on with Trump and why Colorado kicks him off the the ballot, not Maryland, Maine's doing the same thing. Constitutional scholars will say, wait a minute, even the 3 Democrat jurists on the Colorado Supreme Court said, I don't like Trump, but this isn't the way to do it. You're making the courts make this decision. That's why, like Jonathan Turley, the constitutional scholar I always question, or at least comment on, he stated he wants it to be unanimous. This is not an argument to use. Because if you do this, what happens if Florida or Missouri or Texas or any Republican state says we're going to remove Joe Biden because he failed in his constitutional duties to protect the borders when he allowed 8 million illegals to cross the U.S. southern border? What's the difference? What, you got some comments coming in?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, put it out.
No,
No.
They're just trying to rattle.
It's just troll.
And if you acknowledge it, you just give them more power. So
No, I just want to say how idiotic their argument is. I mean, you may hate someone so much. Remember,
So I have
but here's a point.
Question, John,
but here's
for
a
you.
point that
Yeah.
Jonathan Turley made, who's no Trump supporter, who's a liberal Democrat. He said, "Be careful what you wish for." Remember when the Democrats decided to change that you needed 60 votes instead of 60 votes to get confirmed to a federal judge.
Yeah, they got rid of the filibuster.
They got rid of the filibuster, and then when the Republicans took over, they added 3 justices. Had they had the filibuster, some of those jurists never would have gotten in.
Yep.
So if you go this way for the Democrats, if you do this, don't complain when the Republicans do the same thing to you.
it was like the Democrats came up with the nuclear option, and then
Harry Reid.
under the Trump administration, they used that left and right.
Exactly.
They killed the nuclear option.
So if you decide to do this, if you move forward to remove someone from the ballot because you use some obscure law, don't say anything and don't complain when the Republicans do it to you.
I got to tell you, history repeats itself because the last time
Stupidity,
that came off,
But the Democrats are moving forward like look what they're doing with the Supreme Court. Oh, the Supreme Court's illegitimate because they don't rule my way. Be careful what you wish for. You set a precedent. Like when as an example, remember when the House kicked off a Republican congressional rep off one of the committees off baseless things? What happened when the Republicans took over? They kicked off Eric Swalwell, they kicked off Ulan Omar, and they booted off Adam Schiff. So be careful what you wish for.
And he
Press-
cried about it too.
He
went to TikTok and cried about it.
But look at the things they did. They did look at the impeachment. They just did a sham impeachment, no inquiry, nothing. They just did it, boom. So be careful what you wish for, Democrats. You may just get it.
So my question actually goes back to what you said a little bit before about the treason and setting the bar high. I get it if it's a political rival, and I get that, but you're talking about a general in the United States Army who is an officer who swore an oath to the Constitution. that I believe is treason.
But
you called a Chinese general.
I got
on
it.
that
But
day.
the point is,
no.
no. But no, what I'm saying
Pretty
is,
serious.
all I'm saying is this, and just like a lot of these constitutional scholars, due process is the fundamental part of our Judeo-Christian legal system, and General Milley is given his due process, not just these sham investigations and sham impeachments like they did to Donald. You may not like Donald Trump. There was no impeachment inquiry. They just said we're going to do it and moved on with it. And now they're ruined the day because even like the contempt, you got Jamie Raskin, the Democratic congressman, I think from New York. He's all about, well, Hunter Biden doesn't need to go up in front of in behind closed doors. He should be doing it openly. This is the Republicans trying to make a shit to go after after Joe Biden. Well, then why did all the Republicans that he wanted had to go behind closed doors? You can't have it both ways. And this is what they're doing. They want to have it both ways. Now, the question is, today, the Republicans at a committee voted to hold Hunter Biden in contempt. What do the Democrats do? Are they going to cross? Are there going to be anybody to cross over because they held Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro in contempt? They sent it to the Justice Department where they convicted him and they had to go do jail time.
And didn't Hunter Biden walk out today? Didn't
he was
didn't
in
he
and
stage
out.
a little temper tantrum?
He was in and out. But the question is, if you wanted Republican witnesses to go behind closed doors, and if you charged and convicted Republicans for contempt of Congress, what's the difference here? You can, and that's the thing, you can't have it both ways.
So there's been something said, I heard it today on another conservative radio show, but they were talking about how in Wilmington they're having secret meetings where media is having meetings in Wilmington about them not like pushing Bidenomics a little bit harder, but also that the Biden administration or somebody in Wilmington, because I guess that's where he resides on the weekends, everybody that has been charging Trump, with from Georgia to all his indictments, have visited the president.
Yeah, see, that's like right now, before this podcast started, you had the prosecutor in Georgia appoint her, I guess, a significant other, like a lover, and then they had this affair, and then this person meets with the Department of Justice, and then they pay him $1 million. He had never prosecuted a felony crime. And you've had this.
It's going to be a slam dunk, and you don't need that good of a.
But that's the point. And remember when Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac in Phoenix at the same time the Justice Department was investigating Hillary.
Yeah.
So you get this conflict of interest, and it's tainted.
Clinton talk was a little bit more aggressive than say like this one.
No, but you're appointing somebody who's investigating somebody that hates Trump.
Mm-hmm.
To me, do you want somebody, and I would tell people who maybe disagree or hate Donald Trump, what happens if somebody appointed a prosecutor to go after you and that prosecutor can't stand you? Mm-hmm. Is that, or like Letitia James in New York? She campaigned, even Alvin Bragg, both of them campaigned, I'm going to get Donald Trump no matter what. Yeah. Letitia James wants $350 million in damages. Nobody's lost any money. Everybody made money. The banks didn't complain. Yeah. Everybody made money. So you're just going after people vindictively. Remember, this could swing against you guys. What happens if Joe Biden leaves the White House? We can go after him. It doesn't end.
All right. Actually, you know what? Ray, throw that in there.
Yeah.
What you got, Ray?
All right. So there was Locrea. I think I said that right, hopefully. Said, Mr. Ubaldi, sir, what would convince you that we need a ceasefire in Gaza and why?
Well, right now you have to look at it is this. I don't.
Yeah, I already know the answer.
The thing is, everybody, straight up the bat, everybody feels for the Palestinians. Mm. Okay. right now everybody feels, I mean, no, but even before that, nobody wants, even in the military, even in the Marines, nobody wants to see innocent Palestinians killed. But what I would tell people who support Hamas, where were you prior to that? Look at the money Hamas has gotten over the years. They gotten billions. They spent it on weapons. They spent it on tunnels. And I would ask them, what would you do and how would you feel as a nation if the Mexican drug cartels came over to America, killed 1,500 American citizens, and if you take the equivalent per capita for Israel, that would be 50,000 Americans, raped women, so hard they broke their pelvis, beheaded children, infant children, and then put infant children in ovens. And what would you do if a terrorist came in, killed the father by gouging his eyes out and killing him, cut the breast off the mother, cut the fingers off a boy, and cut the foot off of a little girl, and then killed them, and then ate food there before they left?
Well, I think that's why Israel's responding the way
So
they are.
this is why Israel.
How do you think Texas would
yeah.
If the cartel came over and did that, how do you think Texas would
Exactly
react?
what
But
you
then
said,
the-
John, is why Israel's doing
But
what
then
they're
the other
doing now.
point is, where were all these individuals? If you say Muslim lives matter, where were you when over 500,000 Syrians were killed, including 100,000 children by Iran, by Hamas, by the Hezbollah and others? Hezbollah in Syria. No one said it. I don't see protests there. I don't see you protesting the Iranians who are fomenting this, that they're killing hundreds of thousands over the years. I don't see anybody protesting what's going on in Yemen.
October 7th was literally a promo video for Hamas.
And this is
murking
not me saying
civilians.
this. Hamas put these videos online.
So
They
no,
laughed about it.
I got
So-
no sympathy for them.
This is what you got. So where's the outrage against Hamas? And when we saw this in Iraq and Afghanistan. They put weapons in schools and mosques and hospitals. I don't see the protest against that. So I want peace to go in the Middle East, but let's stop supporting terror groups. I mean, look at Israel. Israel actually has democracy. They actually have Muslims serving in the Knesset. I think one of their chief justice of the Supreme Court was Muslim. Is that happening in the Middle East? And all these LGBTQ plus whatever and feminists, they would be killed if they were in the Gaza Strip.
Treat it like cancer. You got to kill every single cell, every little.
You gotta-
so that because if you let just a little bit leave or left, it's just going to grow right back.
You got it.
Unfortunately, if you want a ceasefire, you need to eradicate everything.
And stop. The biggest threat to the region is Iran.
Yeah.
And tell everybody, I don't see anybody protesting the Iranians. They just killed a girl. I don't see, where's the protest on that?
You mean far left socialists are against the Jewish people? I've seen that in
There
history
you
somewhere.
go.
Where did I see that in?
All right, John, how can you get hold of you?
You can go to ubaldireports@gmail.com. That's ubaldireports@gmail.com. You can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Keep following us every Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Our goal is to do this every day because there's a lot to talk about, and I hate waiting until the next week, but it's just you got to eat and you got to work, so we just got to keep it going. Thank you for all those who comment, whether they support what we're saying or not. I just want people to think and get people discussing these issues. But before we go, Joe will talk about All American Gunslingers and what they're doing. Go, Joe.
All right, so All American Gunslingers, we're a few more weeks from opening up. Go ahead and follow us on our Facebook page. That's All American Gunslingers. We want to get up to 1,000. We're like 25 away.
Yeah, we're real close to 1,000 followers.
25 people away from 1,000 followers. And once we do hit 1,000, we're going to make a special announcement for all of those of us that have been following. We hope we could have done it like a month ago, but better late than never. Also, you can follow us on all social media. That is All American Gunslingers. Through all our social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, So make sure to follow us on there, and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on. Stick around past the podcast while we just hang out on TikTok and we answer your questions and we berate John A. So we will talk to you guys soon.
All right.